Foals played near their mothers, nipping at tails and kicking up dust. But something felt off. The air was heavy, thick with an eerie stillness that made even the stallion leader uneasy. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed across the horizon, a sound like distant thunder, yet sharper, angrier. The stallion lifted his head, ears swiveling toward the noise. His dark eyes scanned the skies, where clouds churned ominously, swirling into unnatural shapes. Panic rippled through the herd as they followed his gaze. "What do we do?" their silent whinnies seemed to ask. Instinct screamed to flee, but where? The plain stretched endlessly around them, offering no shelter. Behind them, trees bent violently as if bowing some unseen force. Closer now, the roar grew louder, shaking the ground beneath their hooves. Would they survive what was coming? The stallion pawed the earth nervously, his powerful muscles coiled like springs ready to explode into motion. Around him, the herd huddled close, trembling, not from cold but from fear. Birds fled overhead, their cries sharp and panicked, while rabbits darted wildly across the plains. The wind picked up suddenly, whipping dirt into stinging spirals. A mare nudged her foal urgently, urging it closer to the center of the group. Memories flooded back to the stallion, a storm years ago that had scattered his old herd, leaving many lost forever. He wouldn't let that happen again. Not this time. Overhead, the sky turned black, streaked with veins of lightning. The tornado loomed larger now, its funnel cloud twisting downward like a monstrous hand reaching for them. The stallion snorted fiercely, stomping the ground. There was no time left to hesitate. With a sharp whinny, he signaled the herd to move. But which way would lead them to safety, and which straight into disaster? The herd bolted as one, hooves pounding rhythmically against the dry earth. Dust rose in thick clouds, choking the air as they raced blindly forward. The stallion led the charge, his instincts guiding them toward lower ground where the winds might be weaker. Behind them, the tornado roared louder, its deafening scream drowning out all other sounds. Trees snapped like twigs, flung aside by the monster's fury. Fear surged through the herd, pushing them faster despite exhaustion. A young foal stumbled, its tiny legs giving out under the strain. Its mother circled back instantly, nudging it desperately to rise. The stallion hesitated, torn between leading the herd and ensuring no one was left behind. Every second counted. Finally, the foal staggered upright, leaning heavily on its mother for support. Together, they rejoined the frantic sprint. Ahead, jagged cliffs appeared through the haze. Was this salvation or another dead end? Hope wavered precariously. As they neared the cliffs, the herd split instinctively. Some veered left toward rocky outcrops, seeking refuge in narrow crevices. Others followed the stallion downhill, hoping the terrain would shield them from the worst of the winds. The decision tore at the stallion's heart. What if those who chose differently didn't survive? Lightning cracked above, illuminating the chaos. A mare screamed as debris struck her side, sending her crashing to the ground. Two others stopped to help, dragging her along as best they could. The stallion called out sharply, urging everyone to keep moving. Time was running out. Behind them, the tornado swallowed everything in its path. Trees, rocks, entire patches of earth ripped away as if erased. The herd pressed on, their breaths ragged, muscles burning. Below, a ravine opened up unexpectedly, its steep walls promising temporary shelter. Could they reach it in time, or would the storm claim them first? With seconds to spare, the herd plunged into the ravine, their hooves sliding precariously on loose gravel. The stallion brought up the rear, ensuring no stragglers were left behind. Once inside, the horses huddled tightly together, their bodies forming a protective wall against the howling winds. Above, the tornado raged mercilessly, its roar shaking the very earth beneath them. Dirt and leaves rained down, carried by violent gusts that clawed at the edges of their sanctuary. A foal whimpered softly, pressing closer to its mother for comfort. The stallion stood tall, his presence calming the herd despite his own fear. Outside, the world seemed to unravel. Trees toppled, boulders tumbled, and the once familiar landscape transformed into unrecognizable ruin. Yet here, in this cramped ravine, they were safe, for now. As the storm continued its relentless assault, the herd waited, hearts pounding, wondering if survival came at too great a cost. The tornado roared above, its fury shaking the ravine walls as if testing their strength. Inside, the herd trembled but held firm, their unity shielding them from panic. The stallion stood at the entrance, his ears twitching for any sign of danger. Suddenly, the deafening roar softened slightly. The eye of the storm had arrived. For a brief moment, eerie silence settled over the ravine, broken only by labored breathing and faint whimpers from the foals. The stallion peered outside cautiously, his sharp eyes scanning the devastation. Trees lay uprooted, and the plains were littered with debris. But beyond the destruction, he spotted something, a narrow canyon winding into the hills. Could it lead them to true safety? He turned back to the herd, weighing the risks. Moving now might save them, or expose them to renewed danger. His decision would shape their fate. Would instinct guide him, right? The stallion signaled the herd to move, his urgency clear in every step. Slowly, they emerged from the ravine, muscles stiff from crouching too long. The calm of the storms that surrounded them, but everyone knew it wouldn't last. Hooves crunched over shattered branches and torn earth as they followed the canyon trail. Behind them, the tornado began to stir again, its growl growing louder. Fear surged through the herd, pushing them faster despite fatigue. A mare slipped on loose rocks, her cry cutting through the tense air. Two others rushed to steady her, pulling her upright just as the winds returned with vengeance. Debris flew past, stinging their hides. The stallion led them deeper into the canyon, trusting the steep walls to shield them. Every step felt like a gamble, but turning back was an option. Survival depended on faith in each other and themselves. As they pressed forward, cracks began to show within the herd. Exhaustion gnawed at their resolve, and fear made some falter. One young horse hesitated near a fallen log, frozen by terror. The stallion circled back, nudging it firmly toward the group. We stay together, his action seemed to say. Nearby, a mare limped painfully, her injured leg dragging behind her. Another stepped close, supporting her weight silently. These small acts of kindness reminded them why they endured, to protect one another. Above, the sky darkened again, signaling the storm's second wave. Lightning struck dangerously close, sending shock waves through ground. The herd flinched but didn't break formation. Their unity became their lifeline, even as the canyon walls threatened collapse under the wind's relentless assault. Would this bond hold, or shatter under pressure? The canyon narrowed sharply, forcing the herd into single file. Panic rippled through them as claustrophobia set in. The towering walls felt like jaws closing in. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed overhead. A massive boulder loosened by the storm tumbled down, narrowly missing the lead mare. She reared up in terror, nearly colliding with those behind her. The stallion whinnied sharply, urging calm amidst chaos. Ahead, the path forked. One route sloped upward, the other descended steeply. Both looked treacherous, but indecision was costlier than risk. Trusting his instincts, the stallion chose the upward slope, hoping higher ground offered better chances. The climb was grueling. Hooves slipped on loose gravel, and lungs burned from exertion. Yet no one gave up, not when survival meant staying together. The storm raged on, testing their limits further. How much more could they endure? Halfway up the slope, disaster struck. A foal lost footing, tumbling backward towards certain doom. Without hesitation, a young mare leapt after it, catching the foal mid-fall with her teeth. Pain shot through her jaw as she dragged it back onto solid ground, her own body trembling from effort. The stallion watched, pride and worry warring within him. Such bravery inspired the herd. They pushed harder, driven by sheer determination. But not everyone was so lucky. An older stallion lagged behind, his strength failing rapidly. Realizing he endangered the group, he stopped abruptly, signaling them to go on without him. Tears welled in unseeing eyes as the herd hesitated briefly before obeying. Sacrifices weighed heavily, yet survival demanded focus. As they reached the summit, hope flickered anew. But at what cost? At last, the herd reached the summit, their chests heaving from exertion. Below them stretched a vast expanse of ravaged plains, now unrecognizable under layers of debris. But ahead lay rolling hills dotted with sparse trees, a potential refuge if they could reach it before the storm returned in full force. The stallion scanned the horizon, his sharp eyes catching movement near the tree line. Was it predators drawn by chaos, or another herd seeking shelter? He whinnied softly, urging caution as they descended carefully. Behind them, the tornado roared louder, its funnel cloud widening ominously. Time was running out. A foal stumbled, its tiny legs buckling under fatigue. Its mother nudged it gently, whispering encouragement through soft nuzzles. Together, they pressed onward, driven by hope. Yet doubt lingered. Would this journey end in salvation or heartbreak? As they neared the tree line, nature struck again. A sudden gust slammed into them, knocking several horses off balance. Leaves and dirt stung their faces, blinding them momentarily. The stallion fought against the wind, his powerful frame barely holding steady as he guided the herd toward the trees. Lightning cracked above, illuminating jagged branches that loomed like skeletal hands ready to snatch them. One bolt struck a nearby tree, splitting it apart with a deafening crack. Splinters flew everywhere, forcing the herd to scatter briefly before regrouping. Panic surged, but the stallion's commanding presence steadied them. Stay close, his actions urged. They pushed deeper into the forest, where thick trunks offered some protection. Here, the winds howled less fiercely, but danger still lurked. Would these ancient giants shield them or betray them? The forest grew darker as twilight approached, shadows stretching unnaturally long across the ground. The herd moved cautiously, ears swiveling for any sound of predators. Suddenly, low growls rumbled nearby. Wolves, emboldened by the storm's aftermath, circled silently. Their glowing eyes reflected hunger, teeth bared menacingly. The stallion stepped forward protectively, his stance daring the predators to attack. Behind him, the herd formed a tight circle, foes shielded within. Tension crackled in the air as wolves closed in, testing their resolve. Hunger versus survival, the battle was clear. Finally, one wolf lunged, aiming for a weak mare. The stallion charged, slamming into it with brute force. Yelps echoed as the pack retreated momentarily, but not for long. Exhaustion weighed heavily on the herd. Could they fend off both predators and the storm? Just as despair threatened to consume them, an unexpected ally appeared, a lone coyote limping toward the group, injured but alive. It sniffed cautiously, then sat down nearby, seemingly offering no threat. The stallion hesitated, torn between suspicion and gratitude. Wolves prowled closer again, circling wider this time. Sensing opportunity, the coyote barked sharply, startling the pack and giving the herd precious seconds to retreat further into the woods. Gratitude welled within the stallion. He nodded slightly, acknowledging the act of kindness. Together, they pressed onward, trusting instincts over logic. Above, lightning illuminated twisted roots and fallen logs, hinting at obstacles ahead. Fatigue gnawed at every step, yet determination burned brighter. Survival wasn't just about strength. It was about connection. For a brief moment, the wolves retreated entirely, leaving the herd shaken but intact. They found temporary refuge beneath a cluster of sturdy oaks, their branches forming a natural canopy against the storm. Rain began to fall steadily, washing away dirt and blood, but soaking their coats to the bone. Foals huddled close to their mothers, seeking warmth despite shivers racking their small frames. The stallion stood guard, his body tense even as exhaustion pulled at his muscles. Nearby, the coyote rested quietly, licking its wounds while keeping watch alongside them. An uneasy peace settled over the group, a fragile truce born of shared struggle. Yet the storm outside showed no signs of relenting. Thunder rumbled ominously, shaking the ground beneath them. Could this fragile bond withstand another wave of destruction? Hours passed, and the storm showed no mercy. Winds battered the trees relentlessly, snapping weaker branches and sending them crashing to the ground. The herd flinched each time, their nerves frayed beyond measure. Yet amidst the chaos, resilience emerged. A young horse stepped up unexpectedly, helping guide younger foals away from falling debris when others faltered. His bravery inspired the group, reminding them that leadership wasn't tied to age but to action. The stallion watched proudly, realizing the herd's future depended on such moments of courage. As dawn approached, faint light filtered to the clouds, signaling the storm's weakening grip. Hope flickered anew, but scars remained. Broken bodies and battered spirits bore witness to their ordeal. Would healing come, or leave lasting wounds? As dawn broke, the storm finally began to subside. Golden sunlight pierced through ragged clouds, casting long shadows over the devastated landscape. The herd emerged cautiously from beneath the oaks, their coats matted and caked with mud. Exhaustion weighed heavily on every step, yet relief washed over them as the wind softened to whispers. The stallion led the way, his once proud stride now slow but steady. Around them, the forest lay in ruins, trees uprooted, branches scattered like broken bones. Yet life persisted. Birds chirped tentatively, and small creatures scurried amidst the debris. A foal nuzzled its mother weakly, seeking reassurance. Despite everything, they had survived. But at what cost? Bodies were missing, including the older stallion who had sacrificed himself. Grief settled over the group like a heavy blanket, mingling with gratitude for those still standing. The herd paused in a clearing, taking stock of their numbers. Some horses bore fresh wounds, while others limped painfully. Two foals clung tightly to their mothers, their wide eyes reflecting both fear and resilience. But gaps in the group told a somber story. Those who hadn't made it. The stallion lowered his head briefly, mourning silently before lifting it again with resolve. Survival meant moving forward, even when hearts fell heavy. Nearby, the coyotes sniffed the ground, leading them toward water, a shallow stream glittering faintly under morning light. Thirst drove them onward, each sip reviving strength bit by bit. As they drank, the herd exchanged quiet nudges, reaffirming bonds forged in chaos. Though battered, they remained united. Could they rebuild, or would scars define them forever? With survival secured, the herd faced new challenges, finding food, tending wounds, and navigating unfamiliar terrain. The stallion delegated tasks instinctively. The strongest cleared paths, while gentler members cared for injured foals. Cooperation became their lifeline, replacing fear with purpose. One mare stood out, her calm demeanor soothing frayed nerves. She guided younger horses patiently, teaching them how to graze efficiently despite limited resources. Even the coyote stayed close, its presence oddly comforting. Together, they formed a patchwork family bound not by blood, but by shared struggle. Yet tension lingered. Some horses flinched at sudden noises, haunted by memories of the storm. Healing wouldn't come quickly, but progress mattered more than perfection. Slowly, trust rebuilt itself, piece by fragile piece. Days passed, and the herd ventured further into hills, searching for safer grazing grounds. Though the storm had faded, its echoes remained, in cracked earth, flattened grasslands, and lingering anxiety. A young horse startled at every rustle of leaves, imagining predators lurking nearby. The stallion stayed vigilant, ensuring no one fell too far behind. At night, they huddled together beneath starry skies, finding comfort in proximity. Memories surfaced unbidden. The roar of the tornado, the crash of falling trees, the sacrifices made along the way. These recollections weren't just burdens. They were lessons etched deeply into their spirits. Survival taught them unity, adaptability, and courage. As dawn painted the horizon anew, hope stirred within them. Life continued. Carrying scars turned into strengths. The land began to heal alongside the herd. Grass sprouted stubbornly through cracked soil, and wildflowers bloomed vibrantly despite harsh conditions. Birds returned, their songs weaving melodies of renewal. The herd grazed peacefully, their movements slower now, but filled with quiet determination. Foals played cautiously, testing newfound strength as they chased each other across open fields. Even the coyote seemed lighter, its limp fading as it explored alongside them. The stallion watched silently, pride swelling within him. This wasn't just survival, it was rebirth. Scars remained visible, both on the land and within the herd, but they symbolized resilience rather than defeat. Together, they carried forward, not just their own legacy, but nature's promise of renewal after destruction. Hope rooted itself deeply, branching toward brighter days ahead. Among the herd, bonds deepened beyond mere necessity. Mares shared stories through soft whinnies, recounting moments of bravery during the storm. Foals learned to rely on elders, mimicking their calmness in uncertain situations. Even the coyote earned acceptance, its loyalty proven time and again. One evening, as twilight bathed the hills in hues of gold and crimson, the herd gathered near a stream. Reflections shimmered on the water's surface, mirroring their unity. The stallion stood tall, his silhouette framed against the fading light. He wasn't just their leader, he was their anchor, guiding them through chaos and calm alike. Together, they thrived, embodying resilience and connection. Love transcended species, proving that family wasn't defined by blood, but by shared experiences and unwavering support. Weeks turned into months, and the herd grew stronger, their coats glossy once more. Foals matured, carrying lessons of survival into adulthood. When storms approached again, they didn't panic. They prepared, trusting instincts honed by experience. The stallion aged gracefully, his role shifting from protector to mentor. Younger horses stepped up, ready to lead when needed. One day, as they grazed near jagged cliffs, the coyote disappeared quietly into the wilderness, leaving behind only paw prints. Though missed, its legacy endured, a reminder that allies could come from unexpected places. The herd pressed onward, their journey far from over. Every hoofprint marked progress. Every scar told a story. Their survival wasn't just triumph. It was inspiration, proof that spirit could overcome even nature's fury. Under starlit skies, the herd rested peacefully, their breathing synchronized like an ancient rhythm. Memories of the storm lingered faintly, woven into their very essence. Hoofprints marked the earth, fading slowly but leaving imprints on hearts. The stallion gazed upward, imagining lost members watching over them, whole and radiant. Tears welled in his eyes, not literal ones, but an ache so deep it felt like gratitude and grief intertwined. Love connected them forever, bridging worlds apart. Bonds endured beyond lifetimes, carried forward through shared struggles and triumphs. As dawn approached, the herd rose together, stepping boldly into unknown horizons. Their journey continued, shaped by resilience and unity. What happened next wasn't just survival, it was legacy. At sunrise, the herd stood atop a hill overlooking vast plains stretching endlessly before them. Golden light bathed their coats, highlighting scars turned into badges of honor. The stallion exhaled softly, knowing their ordeal had changed them forever. Foals played joyfully, oblivious to the weight of history carried by elders. Yet each step forward honored sacrifices made along the way. Nearby, flowers bloomed vibrantly, symbolizing renewal and hope. The herd moved as one, their unity unshaken by trials faced or challenges ahead. Behind them, hoofprints faded into the earth, carrying whispers of courage and love. Above, birds soared freely, echoing their journey. Life continued, resilient and beautiful. And so, their story ended, not with sadness, but with gratitude. Survival wasn't just enduring, it was thriving together